But the risky stuff is usually the stuff that really nobody else is doing. So I would say that as a company, we've got to be doing this much risky stuff to balance this much, well, this will probably work kind of projects that we do. And they might come from the, here's a disease, let's take the proteins known in the pathway kind of thing.
Sounds like there's a lot of chance sometimes in just how well read you are and what you're exposing yourself and the connections that you're making. And would you say that sometimes you're on a line for a certain drug and then it takes you realize it's a totally different pathway? I mean,
yes. And I can give you an example of that. You know, it's one of the important things about companies that you keep talking to people in other departments, because quite often you work on something in your department and people from other departments don't think about it, and you don't think about what they do. And so we have a drug that just got approved, denosumab, which was developed to take people with osteoporosis and help treat them by building their bones back up. And so the metabolic disorders group spent, well, yes, the same thing, maybe 2 decades in this case on that drug. They cloned the gene. Nobody knew about the gene that regulated this pathway. They cloned it, they identified it. They went into patients 3 different times, which is a huge expense, and had to go back to the drawing board. No, that molecule didn't work. We need to, now we know more about the receptor, let's target that. No, now it's the thing that binds to the receptor, let's target that kind of thing. But then, while that was happening, somebody said, well, you know, what about cancer? In cancer, quite often, cancer metastasizes to the bone, and it's often the problems in the bone that are some of the biggest complications for cancer patients. Should we look at it there? So we started looking at denosumab in cancer models, and we found, yes, firstly, it did decrease the way that cancer can sort of eat away at the bone and cause fractures. And there are conditions like multiple myeloma. Multiple myeloma metastasizes, is in the spine. And as the spine gets damaged, it compresses. And all your organs get compressed. It's tremendously painful. It's a very bad disease. Can we treat conditions like that with denosumab? It's meant to treat osteoporosis, but actually it can treat cancer, the side effects of cancer. And as we started to work on it more, we realized, well, actually, it might treat cancer itself. It seems to actually somehow change the microenvironment which the cancer wants to come into. So it might actually decrease the effects of metastasis. So, you know, you have to keep talking to everybody around you, keep reading other areas. So even if you think this field over here is what you're interested in, keep going to lectures in different areas, because usually the best ideas come from somewhere else. And it's because everybody over here knows this, but people over here don't know it. And if they get together, they come up with something better. Changing fields is a good idea. I changed fields 2 or 3 times. Now, it means you have to do the reading all over again, and you have to catch up on 10 years of biology or something like that. But you bring different ideas to it than the people who already work there. And that can be, that can be techniques, or that can just be the way the regulatory networks work. It can be all kinds of things. So it's like everything else in life. You don't have to pick one thing and stick there. You can move around a bit, and it helps, I believe.
What was the most disappointing project you ever worked on? I mean, like.
We talk about epic failures, so we feel good about ourselves.
That would be, sorry.
I'm saying like a project that you put all your hopes in, only to.
It's not going to prom. Okay.
Very easy question to answer, because it's always the worst time in your career is when you're doing your PhD, because you want so badly to get your PhD. You're trying as hard as you can, you're new at it, everything's hard. I was trying to clone a gene and clone its regulatory regions and do this thing called DNA hypersensitive site mapping, which I will not go into, but it's tremendously difficult. You spend your entire life in the cold room to do it, and you need pieces of equipment that break very easily. So anyway, and everything's equipment dependent in this technique. And so I spent about 2 years trying to hypersensitive site map this gene. And I came up with a region that I thought the regulatory regions were in. And I thought, I'm almost there. All I have to do is clone this. Easy. It'll take me 3 weeks to clone this thing. Anyway, a year later, I'm still trying to clone this stupid region of DNA. I tried everything. And so the end of my PhD became about proving that I wasn't so completely inept I couldn't clone a gene. clone this regulatory region. So I had to go through all these remedial steps to show this doesn't work and this doesn't work and all these controls. Now if I was in a company, we'd go, never mind. Or we'd use a different technique, but that wasn't available to me. I really had to prove that I could do it. And at the end of it, I was like, yes, I proved that I can't clone that stupid machine. You know? In the end, I did get there. And when you express things, you use expression vectors, bacterial expression vectors, and they're designed to make an awful lot of this DNA in the cell. Some regions of DNA are toxic. Some regions of DNA have repetitive sequences or binding regions for things that the cell just doesn't like having a lot in. So what I had to do was go back and back and back into worse and worse and worse cloning vectors until I got to a cloning vector that has one copy per cell. This means if you want to make this DNA, I don't know if you guys have made DNA, but you've probably used high expression copy vector if you did. But when you make DNA, it means instead of starting with this many bacteria, I needed to start with this many bacteria just to get enough of this stuff to cut up and clone into something else to make it work. I did it in the end. That was the worst, that was the suckiest project. Now, that's why you always have two projects. If one isn't working, you do the other one.
This is wonderful that you got to experience what a working scientist does, and we are incredibly grateful to you for coming. This is what I need from you. If you have a piece of paper you would like to give to me, the very top row up there in the corner is going to be neatly stacked period 1 papers. The next row down, period 2, 3, 4, 5, say thank you.